All right, great morning, superstars. How is everyone doing out there this morning? Welcome to another fantastic episode of Social Media Saturdays, and I am your host, Taria Hodge. And today we are going to have an exciting conversation. We are talking about story and why story is the secret sauce to your social media. So if you are out there and you can see me and you can hear me, just go ahead, drop a comment into the comment section and let me know, Taria, I could see you. Taria, I could hear you. And we are going to get this party started this morning. Okay. And so I'm super excited about today's episode because I am gearing up for some pretty cool and awesome things. So, one of the things that I'm excited to talk about and share on the broadcast today is our upcoming webinar. Yes, I am getting ready to do an upcoming webinar with none other than with the Mindset Mastery mentor, Suzanne Hart. And we're going to talk about how to magnetize and monetize the virtual stage. So I'll have details on how you could join the webinar coming up in just a few moments. So I was thinking that it would be a great opportunity for me to have the conversation with our superstars and find out what's the story around your story. Okay, so what's the story around your story? That's the question that I am asking this morning. And I see that Maria is out there this morning. Great morning, Maria. Thank you so much for jumping in and tuning into another fantastic episode of Social Media Saturdays. So today we are going to be answering, I'm going to be asking some questions, and then hopefully you guys will be able to share with me your story around story. So if you are struggling to build better connection between you and your audience, then definitely this episode is for you. And if you desire to build an audience filled with action takers. Now, this is a big one because I hear this all the time that I am building my audience on social media. I'm building my community. But the thing is, I don't have an action taking demographic. And so if you felt that way or you feel that way, about your current audience, and definitely you want to tune in to this episode. And I see that Sharette is out there this morning. Great morning, Sharette. Thank you so much for tuning in to this wonderful episode of Social Media Saturdays. Okay. So before I get too far into the meat and potatoes of today's conversation, I want to take a minute. If this is the first time that you are scrolling through your news feed and you're coming across Social Media Saturdays and you're wondering what Social Media Saturdays is all about, well, Social Media Saturdays is a live online broadcast platform dedicated to helping coaches and consultants grow their business by using strategic social media. So I help you grow your business by sharing tips, tools, and strategies on how you can leverage the power of social media. And one of the things that I like to say is I help your brand shine online. And when I talk about shining online, I talk about 5 specific things. I talk about showing up powerfully and consistently online. I also talk about honing in to your ideal and your perfect clients, also making an impact and influence, nurturing your audience, and then also creating an experience around your brand. So whenever you hear me talk about shine, those are the 5 things that I talk about. Okay. And I see that Sharette is out there saying that she's seeing and she's hearing me just fine. Okay. So thank you so much for that, Sharette. So before we jump in, I'm just going to do what we normally do here on Social Media Saturdays. One of the things that I love about Social Media Saturdays is the virtual networking that takes place. So if you are out there, you're watching, do me a favor in the comment section, let me know where you are watching from. Okay, so if you are watching from the DMV area, so the DMV area is where I reside when I'm in the US. Right now, I'm in the Virgin Islands. So if you are in the DMV area, you are watching from the DMV, just go ahead, drop me a line in the comments and let me know, Taria, we're checking you out from the DMV. If you are watching from across the US, then definitely let me know. Let me know where you are watching from. Okay, so if you are watching from the DMV area, you are watching from the DMV area is where I reside when I'm in the US. Right now, I'm in the Virgin Islands. So if you are in the DMV area, you are watching from the DMV, just go ahead, drop me a line in the comments and let me know, Taria, we're checking you out from the DMV. If you are watching from just go ahead and let me know what city and state you are watching from. Or if you're watching from any other country across the world, sometimes I get really excited because we have superstars joining us from other countries such as Italy, Australia, South Africa. We have superstars tuning in from just about everywhere. So just do me a favor, just let me know what area, what city, what state, what country you are watching from. And then if you are part of my Caribbean family and you are watching from an island nation, just go ahead and drop a comment and let me know where you're watching from. Now, the second thing that I would like for everyone to do, like I said, I love this part, is to share who you serve in your business. Okay. So who do you serve in your business, and how do you serve in your business, and how can we connect with you? So this is a great opportunity for you to let other superstars, other like-minded individuals, know exactly who you serve, how you serve, and how we could connect. So if you have a link to your Facebook business page, please go ahead and drop in the comment section the link to your Facebook business page and let us know how we could connect with you. And then if you don't have a Facebook business page, but you do have the link to your website, just go ahead and drop the link to your website. Okay. Now, this is one of the things that I say all the time. Do not miss the opportunity to share with other superstars how you serve. One of the things that I love that happens here on Social Media Saturdays is that on the broadcast, there's a lot of connections that happen, and connections happen after the broadcast, especially in our community. Okay. So we won't know how you serve and who you serve unless you tell us. Okay. So take a minute and put that information into the comment section below. And then last but not least, I'm going to ask you to take a minute to share this broadcast out this morning. Okay. Take a minute to bless another entrepreneur, bless another like-minded individual with this information, because like I said, it's going to be a pretty awesome broadcast. I'm diving into one of the topics that I like to discuss, one of the areas that I would like to think that I've grown. So I'm getting ready to share some stories around my story on the broadcast today. So yes, so if you know of anyone out there who could benefit from this broadcast, just take a minute to share the broadcast out this morning. Okay. All right. So why are you here? Okay, so we're here this morning. We're talking a little bit about story. Okay, and like I said, the title of today's broadcast is "Why is Story the Secret Sauce to Your Social Media?" And I thought it was a very fitting question and a very fitting topic to have when it comes to social media, because a lot of times, people tell me like they have a hard time showing up on social media. Okay, so they show up on social media. They really don't know what to post on social media. They don't know what to share on social media, or even bigger than that, they don't know how much to share on social media. Okay. And so that led me to ask the question, well, what story do you share? Or if you have a story, or how do you feel about your story? And so some of the things that come up, a lot of times people, tell me is that they don't have a story. Okay. And I'm here to say everyone has a story. So if you're out there and you're watching, how many of you feel like you don't have a story to tell? Okay, so if that's you, put a 1 into the comment section. So if you're out there and you're saying, well, I hear people talking all the time about story, but I really don't have a story to tell. If that's you, just go ahead and drop a 1 into the comment section. Okay, how many of you out there say, well, I do have a story, but I don't think that my story is relevant to my business? Now, this is a big one because I hear this one all the time. Okay. So how many of you feel that you have a story, but you are having trouble relating your story to your business? You're trying to find the relevance for your story, between your story and your business. And if that's you, drop a 2 into the comment section and just let me know, like, I need to find the link, the relevance, okay, between my story and my business, and how do I connect them both? Okay. And then the third one, this is another big one that I hear all the time, that yes, I know I do have a story, but I am super uncomfortable sharing my story. I'm not ready to share my story yet. So if that's you, go ahead and drop a 3 into the comment section and let me know. Taria, that's me. Like I am, there's so much that I want to share, but I'm not ready to be vulnerable enough to share my story. All right. And so if that's you, go ahead and drop a 3 into the comment section. Okay. So number one, drop a number one. If you feel like you don't have a story to tell, drop comment 2 into the comment section. Comment with a 2 if you feel that your story is not relevant to your business, or you're having trouble connecting your story to your business, or drop a 3 if you feel uncomfortable sharing your story. Okay. And so I would like to know that, because that was actually the poll question that I asked in our community this week. Okay. So what's your story around your story? Or if you have any other concerns about sharing your story, just go ahead and type it into the comment section. I'll definitely like to know. So Peg is saying that she's a number 2. So thank you, Peg, for sharing that. And Peg is saying that, I have a story, but I don't know how to relate my story to business. So thank you, Peg, for sharing that. Then definitely you're going to want to stick all the way to the end, okay, for our broadcast today, because I'm going to be sharing with you some tips that you can use to relate your story to your products and your services in your business. Okay. And Maria is out there, and Maria says that she's a number 3. My story needs to be organized around my business. Okay. So she's uncomfortable sharing her story because she hasn't found a way yet, okay, to organize the story and tell her story that suits her business. And I have to say, both Maria and Peg, these are very, very common, responses. And even for me, right? I had that problem, and I just remember, like, oh my gosh, saying like, gosh, first I used to think that I didn't have a story. So I actually used to be that person. Like, I don't have no story. What story am I going to tell? Right. Or what story should I tell that, someone would actually want to hear? And then I realized that, oh my gosh, I do have a story, but you know what? I'm super uncomfortable sharing my story, and then how to relate it to business. Okay. So thank you, ladies, for sharing, because these are all relevant things. Okay. For your business. So I'm going to share this. A few years ago, I think I was in the early phases of my business. So this probably has to be about, I want to tell you, about 6, 7 years ago. I had the opportunity to go to a networking event. And at this networking event, there was this young lady, and she was selling her book. And I listened to her as she told her story around why she had written her book. And I remember thinking, wow, that was such a powerful story that she shared. And she really went into details of her story. And I remember just thinking to myself that it took, probably took so much courage for her to share that story. And I started to wonder if I would ever, be that brave, to share, a story like that. Okay. So how many of us feel like we have these stories? Okay. And they're so powerful. They've impacted us in such a way, but we're not, we feel like we're not brave enough to share the story. And I looked at her in admiration, because one of the things that I walked away with was that she totally owned it. She totally owned her story. Okay. Now, what I didn't understand, or what I did not know back then, like I said, this was 6, 7 years ago, right? I didn't understand the power of story and how it relates to your brand and how it relates to finding the perfect clients for your products and your services. Okay. And one of the things that I noticed is that no doubt, at the event, by the time the event was wrapping up, she had a long line of people wrapped around her table wanting to learn more about her as an author, wanted to learn more about her as a coach, and they were very interested in not only her book, but her other products and services that she offered. Okay, so she had found a great way to harness the power of her story, okay, and share her story with others, thus attracting like-minded individuals. Okay, so here's the thing. Like I said, she's learned how to do it. And so I walked away for years, just thinking, I had so many questions around story. So what story do I share? So that ignited something in me way back then, to start to think about, what story do I want to share? And how do I tell my story? And if they say the mess is in the message, so how many of us have also heard that, right? Like your message is in your mess. Okay, so your message is in the mess. The mess is for you, but the message is for others. And I remember thinking about that, like, oh my gosh, which mess do you want me to share? Do you want me to share the little mess, or do you want me to share the big mess, right? So it cannot be the big mess that you want me to share. And then not only what do I share, the little stuff, the big stuff, do I share all of it? Do I compartmentalize it? But how do you share your story? So these are the questions. I'm sharing some of the questions that I've had around story. And so how do you share your story? And you share your story in such a way that you don't leave people feeling bad for you. You don't walk away having people connect you as the victim inside of your story. So how many of you have ever experienced that? Right? That you've had someone share a story with you, and then all of a sudden, what you felt for that person was sorry for that person. Okay, and these are the questions that I have or had in my mind. I'm a whole lot clearer around story and how to use story. Okay, but these are the questions that I had earlier on about story. So how do you share your story and share your story in such of a way that you don't walk away with people connecting you as the victim? So how many of you have ever felt that someone has shared a story with you, and then after they shared the story, like you're actually left feeling down, right? You're not feeling empowered. You're not moved to action. And then you actually just end up feeling sorry for the person after they told the story. Okay. So if you've ever experienced that, just go ahead and let me know in the comment section below. Okay. So the big question becomes, another question becomes, when do you tell your story? Okay. And I know Charette is on here this morning. And these are the questions as we go back and forth in our conversations that we talk about all the time. Like, when do you share your story? Okay. Do you share your story after you come through the story, or do you share your story while you're in the midst of the story? Okay. So what are some of the questions, okay, that you have concerning stories? And like I said, the reason why I'm talking about this is because I am super excited, to be able to do a webinar on the topic with Mindset Mastery mentor Suzanne Hart. We're actually preparing to do a webinar on Wednesday, which I'll be able to give details around. But one of the things that, I had to learn, especially when it comes to social media, story is really the driving force of your social media. So one of the things that, you hear me talk about all the time is that, sometimes when we take a look at, companies, or we take a look at other brands on social media, they kind of show up on social media, hawking their wares. And when I say hawking their wares, wares, they show up on social media, and they're really powerful on social media when they have products and services to offer. And then after a promotion or their promotional period is over, then what happens, it kind of goes silent. So the question becomes, how do you create a story around your brand that would allow you to attract your ideal clients or your perfect clients to your brand? Okay. And then also engage them, and then position your products and services so they know that you are the perfect person to help them from their problem to the transformation that they want to receive. And then all of that is done through story. And so one of the things that I talk about is why, promoting your products and your services, on social media is not enough. Okay. It's simply not enough. It's about being able to, number one, find the right people, and how do you create that deeper and stronger connection with your audience. So if you're out there and that's one of the things that you are challenged with, then I'm going to share some things with you today that will be able to help you when it comes to adding, story to your social media. Okay, so I'm just going to share with you a couple of things that hopefully will help you as you start to think through your story and why you need to start incorporating story to your social media. Okay, so first of all, knowing your brand story allows you to build a deeper and stronger connection with your audience. Okay, it adds that human element to your content, thus building your brand. And I see that Sharette is saying that I share in the midst and after. In the midst, I'm sharing with a voice of hope, and I'm still moving forward. So that's a very great point. Thank you for sharing that, Sharette. Okay, because here's the thing. A lot of times, and it goes back to being vulnerable. So a lot of times, we might not feel vulnerable enough sharing our story because we don't know how the story is going to end, right? So we actually go through things like in silence. That's the word that I'm going to use. We go through things in silence, and then after we come out on the other side, that's when we go back and we share the story. Okay, so Sharette is saying that works for her, right? So she shares her story in the midst of the story. Okay, so as she's going through it, she's able to be vulnerable. She's able to be transparent enough to let people know and let people actually learn from her working through, her stuff, right? So people are watching you, your audience is watching you work through your stuff, and they're actually, building that connection with you and seeing how you get to the other side of your transformation. So thank you for sharing that. Okay. So, and I know that there are others out there that says, hey, I don't share my story, until the end of the story, because what I want to do is share the story, and I share the story in such a way that I'm able to share the lessons, of the story. So I'm able to pull out actually what I've learned coming through the story that will be able to help others. Okay, so thank you so much for sharing that, Sharette. Now, one of the other things when it comes to social media, why story is so powerful is because it also helps you connect your brand vision. So this is a big learn for me. Okay, because I always I'm sharing this and I talk about this more, that I've been the gadget widget girl. Okay, being able to get behind of the tools, take a look at how things work. That's how my mind work. I like to figure things out. So when I first heard about story and sharing story, I have to admit I was one of those people that says, no, nobody wants to hear my story. What story, should I tell? I too had all of these questions in my mind around story. But the more I came to understand story, and realize that it was the thing that was missing, okay, in my brand, that relatability, that vulnerability. And I started to talk about it a little bit more. Like, I started to ask myself the question, like, what is it, okay, that's blocking me or preventing me to get to the next level, in my business. So I started to actually analyze this. And I said, it couldn't be another tool, another program, another gadget, another widget that I need to buy. Okay. And what I found, it was actually the connection and the relatability to my audience. And so my biggest learn is, sometimes when we show up or we try to show up in that perfect light, like we have everything together. Okay, what we actually do is create that distance between ourselves and our audience, the very people that we're trying to connect with. So how many of you out there could relate to that? So sometimes you're trying to show up so perfect, like in your business. And why wouldn't you want to show up perfect? This is kind of like the rub, right? Like you want to show up in such a way that, you're thinking like, people have to see or know that I have it all together, that I have all the answers, because if I don't have all the answers, then why would they work with me? Okay. And so you actually, put on, an air of being perfect. And actually it works against you, because then what people have a hard time doing is they have a hard time relating to you. Okay. And you actually create that distance between yourself and your audience. Okay. So I had to learn how to connect the power of my story. Okay. And then share my story in such a way that it also allows people to see my vision. So what is it that I'm working towards in my business, and what is it that I desire, for the clients or my audience who connect with me? Okay. Because there's things that I desire for myself, and there's also things that I desire for my audience as well. So as we journey, and this is one of the things that I've learned to say, as we journey on this together, right? Then that's what it is. We're all learning from each other, and I'm able to take, my learns, okay, my challenges, my messes, and then turn them into learns, okay, that I could share with my clients. Okay. And so I see that Peg is out here saying, yes, she can relate. So isn't it so wonderful, Peg, to know that we don't have to, show up perfect? Okay. Because that has been the problem. And I talk about that all the time. So there's a difference between sitting in perfection and then also striving for excellence. Okay. And so a lot of times what we want to do is we want to sit in perfection, or we want to be perfect. Right. And the key is not to be perfect, because there's no such thing as being perfect. Okay. But we want to strive for excellence. And so striving for excellence is actually doing the best that you can do today. Okay. So as long as you know that you are doing the best that you can every single day, and then you're working to make your best better, that's your strive for excellence. So Sharette is saying sometimes we are more concerned about how things appear than how things are in the context. Share so you can shine. So I love that. And thank you for sharing that, Sharette, because that once again goes back to showing up being perfect. Right? So we want things, or we want everything to appear like it's perfect. Okay. And in reality, right, it's not perfect. So what is it that you are working through? How are things really are? And then can you admit to yourself that, hey, look, these things aren't perfect. Okay. And they'll never be perfect. But what I could do is work in excellence to make them better. So thank you so much for that, Sharette. And I see that Carol has joined this morning. Thank you so much, Carol. Thank you for jumping in and joining with us this morning. All right. So now another question that people have asked when it comes to sharing stories. So these are the questions that I get all the time, right? And especially when it comes to social media. So I'm tying it back into social media, because this is a thing. I see a lot, or I have a lot of conversation where people are really struggling, right? Like they know they need to do more on social media. They want to do more on social media, but they have a hard time showing up on social media. And so one of the things that stop them, outside of the big things, right? So one of the big things is, oh my gosh, the consistency, having the time and being consistent. But the underlying question to that is actually, what type of content do I share on social media? How do I create story around my brand? Okay. And so one of the things that I'll encourage you to start to think about, and I'll share with you 4 questions, for you to ask yourself as it comes to relating your business story. So let me just say this, okay? Every business has a story. So you have a story as to why you do what you do. Like Simon Sinek talks about that in his book, Start With Why. So how many of you have had the opportunity to read that book? And the book is a very powerful book, because I love what he shares. Just in case you've never heard of the book, or you have not had the opportunity to read the book Start With Why by Simon Sinek, one of the things he talks about, okay, is that as business owners, as entrepreneurs, we want to share what we do. Okay, so we are really great with telling people what we do in our business. Okay, and then we go into explaining how we do what we do. And then we kind of wonder, like, why we can't get the connection, or the sales, or build our business the way that we desire to build our business. Okay. When we're showing what it is we do, and we're even talking about the how we do what we do. One of the things that he says, or the key thing that he says is missing, is starting with your why. Okay. And as you talk about your business, you promote your business, you create your brand story, is your why in your brand story? Okay. And as I take a look at, my brand story, one of my story, one of the things that I share is that, I've didn't step into entrepreneurship, always wanted to be an entrepreneur. Okay, I stepped into entrepreneurship because I desired to have a better way of life. And I heard a lot of people talking that if you desire to have a better way of life, right, then entrepreneurship was the way to go. And so I stepped onto this journey 10 years ago. And I tell people, when I stepped onto this journey 10 years ago, I didn't step in having a plan. Okay. I was not that entrepreneur who worked the 9 to 5 and planned for years to leave my 9 to 5, stepping into entrepreneurship. I just knew that whatever it is I was doing wasn't working, and I had to make a change. And I made the change, and I stepped onto this journey. And let me tell you, not easy. I made a ton of mistakes along the way. I learned things the hard way. And so one of the things that I'm able to share with other entrepreneurs, is like, I don't tell people take the leap, take the jump, plan. Okay, take a look at all the stuff that you need to take a look at before you make the transition. Okay, because it is a lot of work, and it's a huge learn. But here's the thing, I'm still on the journey. Okay. And so for me, for my story is that I desire to have a better way of life, and a better way of life, looking at freedom, looking at my health, looking at spending time with my family. And as I met other entrepreneurs on the journey, right, I found that they too had the same desire. Okay, to live a life of freedom, to be able to do the things that they want to do, okay, to live in better health, okay, to spend time with their family, and not have, a company or others dictate what that picture looks like for you. So these are the things, okay? And so now I've been able on my journey to actually find other entrepreneurs who desire the same things, and I'm able to share with them all the things that it took for me to build my business in such a way that would allow me to, fulfill those areas. Okay. So on the journey of entrepreneurship, how do we take care of our health? Okay. So I have a health story around that. So, many of you have heard me talking about how in my 9 to 5, I was absolutely burnt out. Okay. And my health started to fail. And then I didn't learn my lesson. Okay. Because I stepped over into entrepreneurship and nothing changed. I still continued to work the same way until the same problems presented for my health. So what is it that I'm learning to do different on this journey around my health? Okay. Time freedom when it comes to being able to spend time, okay, with my family. So many of you have heard my half and half story, and that's what my half and half story is all about. Okay. I was brave enough to dare to dream that I could spend half of the year, in one part of the country or one part of the world, and then the other half of the year with my family. That's my story, and everything that it takes, to make that happen. And then how do you craft a successful business around that? So how do you build your business in such a way that allows you to be able, to do all of those things? Okay. And so as I learn to be vulnerable about my story, and it's not always about the good things, okay, it's about the hard things, the things that I've learned the hard way, the bumps, the bruises, the knocks, the tears. Okay. All right. So we all have a story. So as you start to think about your story and you're developing your brand story, and like I said, I have some pretty cool things for you today. Okay. The first question that I want you to ask yourself is, which problems do you solve in your business? Okay. So can you clearly articulate the problems that you solve in your business? Okay. And if someone can you just type the questions into the comment section? Okay. So which problems do you solve in your business? Okay. The second question, and most people could say that, right? Most people, most entrepreneurs on the journey could say, specifically, this is the problem that I solve in my business. Okay. So the second question that I want you to ask yourself, what is the insight that sparked your business? So what insight did you have that sparked your business? Okay. And then the third question, what are you doing now to fix the problem? And then what's your mission? So those are the four elements. As you start to take a look at your business story, start to think about those things. Okay. And so I see that Peg is out there, and Peg is saying, start with the why in your story. Yes, Peg, that is so true. So a lot of times, we go into the what, and then we go into the how, and then we forget about the why. Okay. So the why is the most important thing. The why is the story. Okay. The why is the story. The why is actually what makes you relatable. The why is what makes people connect with you. Okay. And I see that someone is out there typing the questions for me. Thank you so much for that. The third one is, what are you doing now to fix the problem? Okay, so what are you doing now to fix the problem? And then what's your mission? So as you journey through, are you effectively communicating the mission that you are on? And then you're getting others to buy into the mission, right? So are you getting people to buy into your vision? You're getting others to buy into your mission. Okay. And so if you are, out there and you're watching, I have a gift for you today. I came prepared to share with you how to find your me only checklist. Now, this is a free gift that's being offered by none other the Mindset Mastery mentor, Suzanne Hart. And like I said, we are getting ready to plan, it's already planned. We're getting ready to do our webinar coming up on Wednesday. Okay. So I'm just going to go ahead And I'm just going to drop the link for the checklist into the comment section this morning, so you can actually grab the checklist. And it's a very cool checklist that would also give you the opportunity to start to ask yourself some questions around your story. Okay, so if you could see that into the comment section, make sure you go ahead and click on the link, and it's actually bit.ly. Bit.ly bit.ly find your me only. Okay, and that's an awesome, very cool resource that you can grab in preparation for the webinar that's coming up on Wednesday. And actually, the name of the webinar is how to magnetize and monetize the virtual stage. Okay. And so we thought it would be very fitting to do the webinar, especially at this time, because once again, we're in this season where things have shifted and people are now pivoting in their business. Okay, and so as we go through our change, how do you still manage to do all the things or that's needed to be done to make sure that you stay on track to hit your goals? And one of the biggest things that have shifted, right, is being able to speak. Okay, so I know a lot of you are out there. You're as part of your business, you do have a speaker's model in your business, and that has shifted from being able to do that in person to doing it online. So, what are some of the things that are necessary for you to be able to conquer the virtual stage? Okay, and so we're talking about that, and then we're also talking about it as it relates to social media as well. So a lot of us, and I've been actually doing Facebook Lives for quite some time now, a live video. But I also understand that this is new for a lot of entrepreneurs, being with things the way they are. More entrepreneurs now, right, have to turn to the power of doing live videos and the power of social media to really keep their business going. And I hear the questions all the time. So these are the things that I get. Okay, like, oh my gosh, I'm posting, I'm sharing, I'm doing this, and I'm not getting people to connect with me. And one of the things, that I say is, as you take a look at it, what's the relatability factor? Anyone could post quotes. We all could, share products and services and all the things that we have coming up. But what is it that allows your audience to connect with you? Okay. Are you able, to take your audience on a journey? Like I said, are you able to create that experience? And so that's one of the things that I talk about when it comes to Shine. What experience are you creating for your audience when they connect with you? And then understanding that experience is happening even before the experience is happening. People are checking us out on social media, and we don't even know that people are checking us out on social media. Okay, so what's the experience that you are going to create for your audience when they connect with you? Okay, all right. So any other questions? It'll be like really helpful if you put any other concerns that you have as it relates to sharing your story. Okay, and then that way we can know exactly what it is or how we can serve you coming through the webinar. Okay, and then the last thing that I wanted to talk about when it comes to your story, okay, is what story do you tell? Okay, so how many of you have actually had that question and said, oh my gosh, I have so many stories, okay, but what story do I tell? And so, one of the things that I want to encourage everyone to start to think about is that story, our content is all around us. Okay. And so, we just flushed through some questions that you should be asking yourself about, your brand story, being able to tell you or share your brand story. Okay. And once you go through those questions will allow you to start to think about, what what story to tell. And then also start to think about your relatable story. So as you get in conversation, with your audience, maybe you're doing a Facebook Live, maybe you're doing discovery calls, you're having conversations, you're at a networking event, do you share your story or do you tell stories then? Are you able to build a connection with the person or the people that you are communicating with? So do you have a relatable story? Okay. And like I said, story is all around us. So this is one of the things, as I started to pay attention to story, I see everything now as an experience. Okay. And how can I go back and how can I relate? How can I wrap this story around the products and the services that I'm offering? Okay. So I see that Peg is out there and she's saying, whoops, let me see. Relatability is so critical. So isn't it, Peg? So a lot of times, like, we could talk like above people's head, right? And totally miss the mark. And then we're wondering why we're not having that connection with our audience. Is because the story is missing. We aren't finding that connection to be relatable. So thank you so much for that, Peg, for sharing that. Okay. So if you have any other questions as it pertains to your story, if you're struggling with story, you don't know what story to tell, how to craft your story. Like I said, we are getting ready to do a series of webinars coming up that will help you explore the power of your story. So if you're out there and you would like to receive information on how you could join the webinar, I want you to just comment with the word webinar in the comment section. Okay, so go ahead, comment with the word webinar into the comment section, and then that would let me know that you would like to receive the details on the upcoming webinar. Okay. And then once you do that, then I'll be able to share when we're doing the webinar, how you could join the webinar. Okay. So 2 things: comment webinar if you would like the webinar. And then if you have any additional questions as it relates to story, as it relates to your social media, okay, put your questions into the comment section, and then I'll be happy to answer your questions as well. Okay. And I see Peg is out there commenting webinar. Thank you so much for that, Peg. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to make sure that I am not missing any other questions or comments. Okay, and I see that Deronda is out there this morning. Great morning, Deronda. Thank you so much for jumping in and joining us today. And I see that Maria is also saying, right, I also need to form the right story to tell. So Maria, thank you so much for that. And like I said, make sure you comment, Maria, with the word webinar into the comment section. And then that way I'll make sure that I get you the information for you to join the webinar, because that's one of the things, right? Like we're going to be covering is knowing, number one, what story to tell. And then when you tell your story, how do you tell your story in such a way that you are building the connections, and then you're also sharing the lessons? So one of the things that I had to learn, the experience is for us, right? We go through the experience and then we learn the lessons, and then our responsibility is to teach the lessons to others, right? So as we go through all of this, and let me tell you, when I really understood that concept, it made it a whole lot easier for me to go through experiences. Okay, because before I'm like, oh my gosh, what in the world is going on? Why do I have to go through this? But then I realized that it's not for me, it's actually for others. Okay, so what is it that I'm learning that I'm able to pass on and share to help others. So thank you so much for putting that in there, Maria. And then Audrey is saying, I don't have a problem sharing, but I need more tips and strategies. Okay, so Audrey's saying that she don't have a problem sharing her story, but you need more tips and strategies on sharing your story. So Audrey, I see that you commented webinar, so I will make sure that I get you the information, because definitely how to magnetize and monetize a virtual stage will definitely help you with that. And I see that Mr. Evans is out there this morning. Great morning, Mr. Evans. Thank you so much for jumping in and joining. Okay. And I am learning, talking about the power of story, I am learning now to make sure that I check all of my feeds and I check all of my streams, because I am broadcasting in multiple places this morning. And so one of the things that I'm learning is to make sure that I go in and then I check everywhere so I won't miss any of the questions and any of the comments. Okay, so and Velma, thank you so much for jumping on and joining us this morning, and thank you so much for that. And I saw that you commented with webinar into the comment section, and so I will definitely make sure that I get you the information on the webinar as well. Okay, all right, great. So I think I have practically covered all of my bases this morning as far as comments. Okay, so if you have anything that you would like to add or anything additional that you would like to share when it comes to your story, do me a favor and then just drop that into the comment section this morning, and I'll be able to address those with you. Okay. But like I said, super excited, to be able to host a webinar with Suzanne Hart. And she has offered her free gift, and her free gift, or the free gift this week, I should say, on Social Media Saturdays is coming from none other than the Mindset Mastery Mentor, Susan Hart, How to Find Your Me Only, and is the Find Your Me Only checklist. Okay, so I shared the link into the comment section, so make sure that you grab the checklist and then go through the checklist as well. Okay, all right, so today is a very short episode. I don't see any more questions, any more comments, and so I'm just going to go ahead and wrap it up. And then thank you so much for letting me know, those of you who are interested in being a part of or attending our webinar, I should say, so I'll make sure that I get the information out to you. Okay, all right, so once again, if you are not a part of our Social Media Saturdays community, make sure that you head on over to our Facebook community, which is Social Media Saturdays, helping you to serve, share, and shine online. Make sure you knock on the door and we will let you in. If you are on Instagram and you would like to follow us on Instagram, we could be found at Watch SMS Live on Instagram. So make sure you follow us there. We're also on Twitter at Watch SMS Live. We are on YouTube as Social Media Saturdays. And then if you are connected on LinkedIn, you could find me on LinkedIn at Turia Hodge. Okay. So once again, superstars, thank you so much for tuning in to another fantastic episode of Social Media Saturdays, and why story is the secret sauce to your social media. And we will connect next time. Take care. Bye-bye.